But Michael Jaafar, I mean, when you think about it, this whole investigation had issues from the very beginning. And it's clear there were letters that went back and forth about how difficult the investigation was and how it was kind of a mess. And I think that has to be something that the defense has to pounce on, because we're talking about really at the core of this case, how these live rounds got on the set, who was responsible for it. And if you don't have a tight crime scene, I mean, the defense can clearly suggest that maybe somebody moved something, somebody had the opportunity to do X, Y, and Z, which might have changed the outcome of the investigation.
Absolutely. You know what I kept thinking about, Michael, when I was watching this case yesterday and today? This is a law school exam question. That's what this case is. The facts could go either way, right? When we're tested in law school, we're not tested on the basics. We're supposed to know that on day one. We're tested on facts that could go either way, and you could say this person is guilty and you're right. The same person could say this person is not guilty and you're right, depending on your analysis and how you analyze it. So this investigation and how loose it was, these are important things, right? These are very important things. But at the end of the day, I think this stuff inures better to the benefit of Alec Baldwin than Hannah Gutierrez, only because at the end of the day, the buck does have to stop somewhere. I've been vacillating on whether or not that's Alec Baldwin, because he is the executive producer. And even when they were doing the investigation, people are going to be starstruck that they're talking to Alec Baldwin. But at the end of the day, if you're the executive producer, you appoint somebody like Hannah Gutierrez to be responsible for their job, something that important, right? So this is a law school exam question. It could go either way. But I agree with you. The investigation was done sloppily. But that inures more so, in my opinion, to Alec Baldwin than Hannah Gutierrez.
Wow.
And, you know, Michael, I just have to ask, so we know the defense is pointing the finger not just at Alec Baldwin, but also generally to production. And I think it's an effective defense strategy, and they're really cross-examining these witnesses well.
Yeah, I think the only way to go is to suggest that she couldn't do her job because of the producers, right? Because I think it's very clear that she was the one that handled the bullets and put it in the gun. But what you have to get this jury to understand is that that only happened because the producers allowed a set to exist that made it possible for that to happen. That it wasn't her fault that these live rounds got on the set, or that she could possibly have made that mistake. And
I think it's a good defense, but I also think that she and Alec Baldwin could be found to have been reckless in this circumstance.
It's interesting. That's a good question, whether one was more reckless than the other, or if one was reckless at all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Does that matter? It's going to be interesting to see what the jury does. Coming up next, the